Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. So we continue to discuss about the light of Buddha. So last time we discussed about how the Buddha changed his mind to focus on the middle path instead of following the extreme practice of self-torture or ascetic practice. So that's why he could attain enlightenment before he could follow the old traditions, ancient traditions that uh, in India, in order to attain liberations or to be born in the heaven, the hermit need to torture um, their bodies to the extreme way. So that's why he followed that tradition for a while, and actually for 6 years until he almost passed away because of that type of extreme practices. And he recognized that that type of extreme practice could not help him anything spiritually. When he heard the sing of the woman in the village, uh, especially when they play the flute. Uh, and he recognized that if the string is too loose, there's no sound at all. And if the string is too stiffen, it may be broken easily. So he need to stay away from those two extreme, indulging oneself in any kind of uh, entertainments. That's one pole. Another pole is to torture this body. And now he decided to go to the middle path so that he could regain his strength to do the practice. And we know that if we have the healthy body, it's much easier for us to have the sharp mind. Uh, Otherwise, there's no way for us to have a clear mind in uh, the illness or weak body. That's why eventually he learned the lesson and let go of that type of extreme practice and follow the middle way practice by accepting the food normally from the villages. So let's us review what we have learned last time, and after that we can move on. Let me share with you the video clips so that we can review what we learned before. Okay, anyway, so here we just review what we have learned about how Prince Siddhartha recognized the meaningless practicing self-torture or ascetic practice. There's fasting uh, without eating much or uh, torture body until um, the head almost blow out and so forth. So that's why eventually he gave up that type of extreme practice to follow the middle path. And somehow, because of his virtue, this one boy in the village happened to pass by the place where Prince Siddhartha sitting in meditation and practicing that type of extreme practice. So he saw this hermit in the verge of death. So he ran back to the house and get the goat milk and brought back to offer to Prince Siddhartha for him to drink so that he could regain his strength and health. So after he consumed that milk, he regained his strength and recognized again because of extreme practice, he is almost passed away, and it may be useless and meaningless for him to sit there to harm himself while have not achieved anything. So later on, again, he heard the singing groups of women and recognized how the extreme practice could not much be helpful, like the string of the flute. If to loose, it would not make any sound. If too tight, it may be broken. So that's why he decided to give up that type of meaningless um, extreme practice of physical um, torture. So he went to the village and accepted the offer from them rarely, and eventually he regained his strength for a day. And somehow, of course, for the five companions, when they saw that he came back to the old day, old style, to accept food every day from the villagers, so they thought that the prince gave up the spiritual practices. That's why eventually they decided to leave him alone and took off to Varanasi by themselves. So basically, they left him to stay back to practice his way, uh, and they took up to do their own practices. So according to their Buddhist account, there's one lady. Her name is Sujuta, and somehow she uh, have fulfilled her wish to have a son from the three gods. And you know that in Hinduism, um, people can worship any kinds of gods that they want to. They think that gods appear everywhere. Um, and those gods, limitless gods, are manifestation of Brahma. So common people can worship the trees, and they uh, think that this on the tree there's some type of gods, and on the rock there's some type of gods. Uh, on the sky there's some kind of god, and so forth. So there's multiple gods or goddesses that for the Hindu people to worship, and even up to now. So that's why for this young girl, she prayed for the three gods, or the gods of tree, to bless her having a son. And after she gave birth to a son, and she repaid the kindness, the blessings of the god of trees. So she cooked delicious food, and the rice soups deliciously, so that she could offer to the god of trees. So somehow when she brought that delicious food to the trees that she prayed for having a son before, and instantly she saw Prince Siddhartha sitting there. So that's why at first she thought that he was a god of trees, and she sincerely offer that um, bowl of food for him to consume. So of course, the prince accept Sujata offerings and consume the food. And after that, he put the bowl onto the river and make the vows that if I'm to attain my uh, ultimate enlightenment, this bowl would flows upstream, and mystically the bowl flowed upstream according to his vows. And at that moment, a serpent king uh, also woke up to witness this type of miracle. Uh, so let me show you the image that according to some traditions is happened uh, at the time that the Buddha made the vows uh, to attain enlightenment, when he put his bowl down to the river, and the drug the um, serpent's kin witness his vows there. And this is the image that we can see here. And so later on, he took his bath uh, in the river and went back to sit under a cedar tree, and later on it will be called Bodhi tree. Bodhi means enlightenment. Uh, at first, it didn't have that names, but because of his enlightenment, people call that tree as the Bodhi tree. So he went back to that cedar tree by the river bank to sit in meditation. So somehow this one man, he happened to pass by uh, and carry a straw, and so he offered the Buddha mm, the straw so that the prince could use that straw to sit in meditations. And so after this man, uh, so Thiyam offered a bundle of straw so that the prince could sit uh, there uh, doing meditations. And, uh, and the story say that somehow uh, miraculously the straw transformed into a diamond throne so that he could sit there firmly to do meditations. And after he had set out under the Bodhi tree, he made another vows that he would not leave that place until he attained enlightenment, and even he may have died, he would not give up uh, his determinations because he wants to find a ways how to solve the sufferings of human beings as well as himself, how to go beyond the illness, the aging, the death of this physical body. So that's why he left the palace and gave up everything, and that's why he made that strong determinations to find the way to attain enlightenment. Mm. So here he concentrated his mind in doing meditation, and while he did meditations, he freed himself from all kind of um, attachment, all kind of mental obstructions. And so he always focused on the thought that how those suffering occur, how can one transform those sufferings. And so at that time, he was only uh, 35 years old. And in his meditations, he could remember all the blessed moments, enjoyments in the palace. And of course, he could remember all the affections between him and his family members. And of course, because of his strong determinations to find out the ultimate truth of life, to go beyond this physical body, that's why he remind himself that he would um, give up again or let go again those kind of thought and emotions. So it says that Mara, uh, the god of destructions, or actually sometimes that's happened in our mind too. I send the beautiful daughters to tame the prince, and of course they uh, appear themselves as his wife, the princess Yasodhara, to uh, attempt to disturb him emotionally. But of course, because of his strong determinations, he would let go of those thoughts and recognize that are the temptation that he need to let go. So again, there's no way for them to disturb his determinations. And so that's why he could move on in his path. And the three daughters of Maharaj are identified as craving, boredom, and passion. And actually, it just happened mentally in this state of mind. So in the Vaja Sutra or Dhamma Sutra, that belong to Mahayana traditions, they say that the Buddha mentioned he have crossed over all beings. That's why he attained enlightenment. So at first, I have the doubt that as one of the sentient beings still here, how could the Buddha say that he rescued or crossed over all sentient beings while he still left all sentient beings like us on this earth? So eventually, I came to understanding that yes, he crossed over all his inner sentient beings, the emotional beings, the frustration thought beings that that happened in his mind. He transformed all of them. That's why he could attain enlightenment. But for us, we have all kind of mental afflictions, and that's our inner human beings that we need to take care of, that we need to deal with every day. So every day we have all kind of emotions. Uh, we like, dislike, we love someone, we hate someone, we have jealousy, thought, and so forth. Those kind of emotions that can be considered as our inner sense means that we need to calm them down, that we need to transform them in our practice of meditations. So only when we do the practice of meditation, we could tame them. Otherwise, there's no way for us to control them, and they will control us to push our uh, action, our speech to do the bad deeds. So again, without any kind of mindful controlling or mindful practice, there's no way for us to transform our own inner beings. And that's why here, even it says that Mara sent the three doubters to tame the abstract Prince Siddhartha to practice meditation. So we recognize as actually the three doubters of Maras appear on every one of us mentally, the craving, the passion, the anger, and so forth. That later on the Buddha indicate them in his first teaching, the Four Noble Truths. So again, we recognize as regardless of things we do, it's all kind of obstruction, all kind of transition to test our determination whether we would want to move forward uh, on our path or we may give up because of the obstruction. And here uh, in the last stage of meditations, the Buddha encounter the Mara, the god of destruction, eternally and externally, that disturb his practice. They try to stop him to attain enlightenment. It's like when we do meditations, somehow if some flies flying around our head, that may disturb our concentration, or somehow while we are sitting there, this is itching. it may disturb our concentration and so forth, and all kind of disruption, all kind of obstructions that may happen in our practice, and of course, not only in the spiritual life, but in our daily life. Like if we are doing business, there's all kind of challenging, all kind of difficulties that we need to overcome in order to be successful in doing business, or in politics too. In any things we do, we encounter all kind of difficulties or challenges. So, like the student, when they go to school, in order to recognize they pass that grade or levels, of course, they need to take the test. So did Prince Siddhartha. He need to overcome those tests, the internal tests and the external tests that he need to overcome. Otherwise, it's not easy to attain enlightenment. It's not easy to become Buddha. So again, this is common sense that we recognize is when we do things, we would meet all kind of challenging, so that it would test our strength and determinations to move forward our goal or not. So the Prince Siddhartha. So here again, when uh, Siddhartha had a strong or firm mind, there's no way for those temptation to block or obstruct his practice. And here is the motive that describe how the doubters of Mara try to tempt the Prince Siddhartha, but they fail. And again, this is some image that show how he's so firm in his practice of meditation or concentration. Whether they try to frighten or tempt him. So somehow at that time, he the Buddha called the goddess of earth to witness that eventually who he could attain enlightenment, or he is worthy to sit on the diamond throne to attain enlightenment and nirvana after the temptation of obstruction of Maras, the gods of destruction, to challenge him that who would be your witness that this your diamond throne to attain enlightenment or nirvana. That's why he called the goddess of earth to witness what he going to achieve soon. And here the posture or the mudra that the Buddha uses uh, hand to touch the ground to call for the goddess of earth to witness his firm determinations to uh, practice meditation in order to attain enlightenment and him. So according to the legends, when the goddess of earth appears, she bowed down to Prince Siddhartha and witnessed what he had vows to attain enlightenment. And of course, she used her sacred power to create um, the waves of waters to wipe out all the demonic armies of Mara. And here we see the image that because of his virtue, the Buddha could shield himself from temptations, from the attack of Maras. And again, because of his strong determinations, eventually Mara failed to attack the Buddha as well as tempt him, and they withdraw from that types of attach or temptation. So the Buddha would left to focus his mind in meditation. So eventually, we know that he attained enlightenment. He recognized what's going on in his mind, what's going on in his past life, and so forth. So according to the legends, it say that he went into deep samadhi or concentrations, and he enjoyed the bliss of liberations. So he realized that the death and the birth are caused by ignorance and attachment. So that is why later on, when he met the five companions who left him alone because they thought that he went back to enjoy his life instead of walking on the path of spiritual path. And so he put uh, he remind them in the second noble truth that the reason why people's suffering physically and mentally is because of ignorance, attachment, and anger. So those are the poisons that we need to recognize and transform them in order to get out the birth cycle. Otherwise, we get stuck there, and we'll discuss about them later on when we come across to the first teaching, the Four Noble Truth, that he provide to his five companions, the one who became the first five monks, or the monastic disciple. Um, and that start the Sangha, the communities of Buddhist monks. We study about that later on. So after he recognized the reason why beings, including human beings, celestial beings, animal beings, and so forth, because of greed, hatred, and stupidity or ignorance. And he recognized his past life, and also not only his past life, but also the past life of all sentient beings, if he focus his mind on them. And that is one of the second power he could recognize, he could have. So basically, he gained the power of being aware of all his previous life and the power to see all things and to know the future rebirth of all beings. That's why he has the divine visions. And throughout the first week, he sat under that Buddha trees in one pastor and experienced the bliss of liberation. Again, he attained that state of mind, the nirvana, the Buddhahood, uh, because of this strong firm determination. And he attained the divine vision, divine hearing, um, and the second house to transform himself into any forms and so forth. We will learn about that later on. That's normal for any Buddhas to have those second powers. And again, not only him, later on, his followers who practice meditation and attitude to arahantship could have at least sacred powers through the six sense organs, like they could attend the divine visions, psychic powers through the eyes, psychic powers to the ears, psychic power uh, uh, mm, uh, through remembering the past life and so forth. We will learn that later on. So, but anyway, so everyone of us have that types of abilities. Uh, mm, Not because we don't have that, but we have that kind of abilities already. But because of the ignorance, anger, and greed, they cover wisdom. They cover that types of skill that we have within ourselves. Uh, for example, it's like the mirror. So when dust cover the mirror, we could not see anything on the mirror. But when we cleanse that mirror, we could see our face clearly. So there is the mind. If we purify our mind, everything will be clear, and we have that kind of power, like the Buddhas, like ours. And again, during his lifetime, not only him but also many of his monastics disciples, and even the lay people could have that kind of sacred powers. And again, everyone of us has that skill, but because of ignorance, anger, and greed, they cover our inherent wisdom. They cover that types of skill. And so let me show you the image that show where the Buddha attained enlightenment here. Uh, Lumbini, that's nearby his hometown where he was born and raised up. And he went eventually to the Magaha, the capital is the Raji, and eventually he went to the Bodhigaya. Actually, that is the place because he attained enlightenment. They call that place Bodhigaya later on. So this is the place where he attained enlightenment. And here we see that Kapilavastu, that's where his capital is, and he eventually uh, went to Magadha, where he met King Bimbisara, and eventually he went to Bodhigaya to sit there to attain enlightenment. So it's time up. Let me we stop here today, and next time we will discuss further. Nam mô Sakamni Buddha.